Okay, welcome back to Shifting Views with Willis. I'm joined again by Rob Lewis, my partner at Adenic. Hi, Rob.
Hi, Wayne.
I don't know, I keep doing this introduction. I should just say
Rob.
Rob's here. It's
guy.
all very official, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right, so today I want to talk about U-turns. This is a term that I hear all the time on the news, and it's always in a negative light, usually related to politics. And politicians hate U-turns, don't they?
Yeah.
You know. But I got to thinking about it when I was listening to this phrase, and I was thinking, why is this such a terrible thing? Surely a U-turn is a reflection of, we're going in the wrong direction, we need to rethink this, let's take a step back and regroup.
Yeah.
So why is it viewed so negatively?
Well, that's true what you say there. Obviously, if something's changed, then you go in a different direction. But like in the case of the negative around politics, it's generally because of optics, isn't it? Or, you know, nothing's really changed. They're just changing in a different direction. It hasn't landed quite as well as they wanted it to, which is obviously negative. Whereas clearly making a U-turn, if it's a rational decision, things change, then what's wrong with a U-turn?
It's the wrong phrase though, isn't it? U-turn, because it sounds so like, if you was to equate that to like being on a journey on a sat-nav, it's like you are going completely the wrong way, make a U-turn. And you remember the old voices on the sat-navs where it would like, make a U-turn, make a U-turn. You're like, all right, I'm going to turn around. Yeah. So like the whole phrase suggests negative, bad, you know, it's the wrong thing. Yeah. And I just wonder that if in a social context, like, so if it's viewed in the media as such a negative thing, then maybe managers and people in businesses, the knock-on effect for them is they don't want to seem to be having a change of heart.
Clearly, it feels like it's weak. It's an admission of a failure, isn't it? It feels like an admission. We thought this, but that's changed, so we're going to have to do the opposite of what we said before. But, you know, things do change in the world, you know, things in the world changes, and business should be able to make a U-turn if that's the right thing to do. Yeah. You know, things change, the direction you're going in, factors affect that, and you need to be agile to move in that. And if that means doing a U-turn, then as long as that's the right strategic thing to do and you can justify that, then I don't see the problem with it. And in fact, you should be embracing that because, you know, we're talking about innovation because we work in the world of innovation, and you know things change and you do an experiment, it doesn't turn out quite how you expected it, and particularly if you're innovating beyond the boundary, things are going to mess up. So doing a U-turn in that case is fine.
I also think it should be expected though, particularly for innovation. Like if you're not making so-called U-turns, i.e. you're not rethinking, the chances are you're not going to advance forward. I mean, if we go all the way back to the fundamentals of like the Wright brothers flying an aeroplane, you know, arguably all those are a series of U-turns, right? That one didn't work, let's try it this way. That didn't work, let's try it this way. You know, so actually it's just collecting new data, new insight, then reflecting on that and then taking a different approach, isn't it? That's actually what it is. And if you weren't doing that, it would just be impossible to invent anything.
You'd kind of hope that the smartest companies and the smartest innovators have a good strategy. It's based on solid foundations, a good understanding of their market and their customer, and their strategic decisions have longevity and last for a long period of time. So hopefully they're doing fewer U-turns. But, you know, if you have to do a U-turn, it shouldn't be such a bad thing. Obviously, it's a bit of a pain because you've spent money or invested in a certain direction that you're going to have to change. But if it has to be reworked for the right reason, I don't see an issue with it.
It goes back to that term as well, though. Why? I mean, we talk a lot about culture in organisations, don't we? You know, and having a bad culture, and you know that whole idea of like fear of failure. You know, we don't want to go and say we've got this wrong because you know it's like career suicide almost. And you know, when we talk about fear of failure, this is the sort of thing we're talking about, aren't we? We're saying, you know, we should be able to try things, collect new insight, find we now know something new, therefore we need to, do we keep going on the same trajectory or do we go back and rethink that? And I think this is why you need to have an innovation process in place.
Yeah, that gives you the tools to handle the change in direction, absolutely. I mean, I don't want to get too political on this, but we have a current government that made 5 pledges, and you know, I'd quite welcome them to do a U-turn on some of those because they're not going particularly well. But they see it as a sign of strength. I'm going to do this. I'm not going to stop. I won't rest. I won't sleep until this is done. So in that context, making a U-turn.
But sure, I mean, even on that, on the political context, it drives me nuts, this, because I want a politician to do that, or you know, or any other profession. If it was a doctor or a surgeon, and he was going, that's the wrong bit I'm cutting there. I want him to say that's wrong. Go back and correct it. But what's wrong with the politician sort of saying, okay, so we thought that this was what was best for the country and this was the way we was going. We've now, in hindsight, received feedback, got information, collected new data, established X, Y, and Z. realize actually that's not the way to go, or it's not popular, it's not being received very well, and we represent you, so therefore we're going to regroup.
Well,
What's wrong with that?
Well, the problem is a lot of these decisions are made on dogma, aren't they? And the ones we're alluding to, without going into them, because we don't want to bore ourselves talking about the politics of 5 pledges that we don't like, but they're based on dogma, not data and rational thought. So therefore, there's no weighing of the right and wrongs and changing. So that's the problem, isn't it?
And that's a really good point. And that's why I wanted to go back to that innovation process within a business, because if you have got a rigid process in place where you say, look, this is the way we try things, this is the format we go through, then there should never, ever be a situation where it's so vast in risk, because you're always building from existing knowledge, insight, stimulus, data, and you're saying, based on the information we've got now, here's where we think we can go with this project. And if you're doing it in a series of milestones, like short sprints, you're always reviewing, okay, this is where we've got to, now here's where we've got to, what is the data saying, what is the feedback saying, what are the stakeholders saying? If you're always doing that, there should never be really a U-turn. It should just always be like a slight adjustment according to, okay, the information has changed, now we need to rethink it and see if we're going down the same route. Well, so you should never be dramatic, really.
No. Well, like a U-turn obviously implies an 180-degree turn, which is obviously a complete about face, and we do see that occasionally in politics and probably in business. But as you say, if it's just adjustments to the course, then if you're a good company who understands what you're doing, then you shouldn't have to do a 180-degree about turn.
Yeah.
And again, like, you have dogma in companies as well, don't you?
Yeah.
We are this, our brands are that, our people are this, our culture is this. That's a dogma. And there's often a lot of inflexibility in that as well. So again, these things can change, and we can have a U-turn or a
I mean, I think it was just to say, from an innovation point of view, if you're in any form of business, or you're in any form of development or product or project work or whatever it is, you have to accept that as part of that, you're going to have to make changes. That the likelihood is you going from 0 to 100 perfectly in one run is highly unlikely. The likelihood is you're going to find, as you go through the process, you'll discover new information, and that information will mean that you need to change some of the nuances, or rethink some of the project work, or whatever it is. There always has to be. You have to fail to succeed.
Yeah. And this is a phrase for all the people who worked at SmithKline Beecham who may remember this. Probably like 20 odd years ago now, so probably not that many of them. But we had this thing called management by facts and data. So if you manage your business with facts and data, and those facts and data are judged well and assessed well, then that's the foundation of good business, and that should result in fewer misturns or U-turns or changes in direction, whatever you want to call it. So as long as you have the right facts and data, I think you're probably okay.
Yeah.
There's still space for gut feel, of course, and gut feel can be wrong, and
but that's always great, because gut feel is great. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. If you think, okay, I just feel like we're going in the right direction, providing you're willing to accept that when the data or the feedback or whatever it is you're collecting shows otherwise, you're able to say, okay, that now supersedes my gut feel, because it turns out that information isn't right, and therefore I'm willing to make a change. And the company is supporting you in that, to say, okay, well, let's rethink it. The worst thing is for the company to say, okay, well, that was wrong, let's squash the whole thing. When you actually say, no, there's real potential in this, it's just that we need to change the process and change the way that we do it.
I mean, gut feel, again, we're kind of straying into another territory here, aren't we, in this topic, but gut feel to me is a classic thing for innovation. A lot of radical ideas will come from someone's gut feel, but gut feel doesn't look good on a PowerPoint slide or in a business plan, because you're just going to get laughed out of the room. But gut feel isn't just gut feel. It isn't just a random thought I've had. It's based on years, months, decades of experience or expertise in a certain area, or insight because I know this. It's that's what informs a gut feel. So it still has facts and data behind it, just probably more imbibed over a period of time, rather than I've done this research and this is what it shows.
Yeah. Okay, so people listening, don't fear the U-turn. There's nothing wrong with the U-turn. It's not as graphic as it implies.
Exactly.
Only in slight cases with some politicians, which we won't get too into. But if you're in a business, you have to make changes to be able to move forward.
Correct.
Yeah. All right, nice one. Thank you. See you next time.